Oregon, and I'm majoring in financial engineering, so I have to worry about stuff like markets, money, capitalism, and stuff like that. And then I'll begin with the assertion that most of the luxuries we enjoy on a daily basis, like shoes, phones, computers, are all from someone else's capitalistic innovations. And so I thought I'd make this speech to inform anyone listening to it about capitalism and its ins and outs. Here's why I think you should care, because we all live in the United States in the sixth most free economy in the world, and that's from the Economic Freedom of the World Index, which basically means that our market and system is the sixth most capitalistic of all the 212 countries. And in addition, economics is always a hot topic, like we saw from the other dude who gave that presentation about the debt ceiling. That's not going away. Economics in general isn't going away. And in addition, socialism is becoming more and more popular. For instance, 49% of people aged 16 to 23 say they would vote for socialism and a socialist candidate. And then overall, I just think it's always good to be informed about our system and our nation and all that good stuff. In the speech, I'll be covering what is capitalism and also like what the opposing socialism is. And then what's good about capitalism, what are the downfalls, and how developed nations in reality are a mixture of socialism and capitalism, because no nation really is just one or the other. All right, to start out with, what is capitalism? According to Sarwat Jahan of the International Monetary Fund, the main ideas of capitalism are that property and assets are owned privately, the market determines value of products and income, and the amount of production is determined by supply and demand. Now what makes this different is that in a socialist system, you would see the government would control all means of production and would determine demand and price. So rather than the people deciding how much of something they want, the government would decide how much is produced and how much of the resource goes to that, and then how much it would cost. All right, what is good about capitalism? So according to Tejvan Pettinger of economicshelp.org, the main benefits of capitalism are the incentivization of hard work and innovation. It raises overall living standards and it efficiently allocates resources. To start, I'll quote the foundation of teaching economics, which says, because of the incentive structure of markets, capitalist economies are uniquely able to generate innovation. And this can also be proved by numbers. For instance, in about 1980, China decided that they were going to open up their system a little bit more and allow for a little bit more of a free market economy. And since then, according to the World Bank, they've been the fastest growing economy with a 9.5% GDP increase each year. And then in the sense that capitalism raises overall living standards, it does so through the idea of trickle-down theory, which is more money being raised from profit allows for people to pay more of their employees so they can buy more things, and it's just a system like that. And then that, according to the World Bank, that does happen in some places, and that people living below $1.90 per day has dropped by 27% since 1981, when a lot of countries started opening up their economy a little bit more. And then in the sense that it efficiently allocates resources, Adam Smith, who's a famous economist, says that by pursuing his own interest, he frequently promotes that of the society more effectually than when he really intends to promote it. What he's basically saying is that someone pursuing greed and profit is going to make a lot of what society wants because they want people to buy their stuff, because the things that people don't want don't sell. All right, and then on to the shortcomings. There's a lot of wealth inequality. There's a chance of monopoly, and then there's a lot of greed and environmental destruction. According to the Federal Reserve, the top 1% of Americans hold $41.52 trillion in wealth, while the bottom 50% hold just $2.62 trillion. So that's a 16 times difference between the top 1% and bottom 50. And that can be said that's due to exploitation, because as you can see, this guy, he's eating the fruits of everyone's labor, and they're not really getting anything of it because, well, they're being eaten, so that's not cool. And he's benefiting a lot. And then monopolies are supposed to be illegal, but they've happened a lot. And they kind of happen with the drug industry today, as we learned from another presentation. But according to Serena Gordon of MedicineNet, Americans pay 10 times more for insulin than Canada and European countries. And this is due to drug companies just being the only one in the sector and just racking up the prices. And then in the terms of greed and environmental destruction, there's not really a profit incentive to replant trees after you've cut them down. So it's a lot easier for companies to just cut them down and then not do anything about it, which is greedy and hurts the environment. And then overall, no country that's developed is really just one or the other. Like economist Hans Hope says that capitalism versus socialism is a never-ending balancing act between predictable obedience to the state and the consequences of individual behavior. Basically what he's saying there is that we're always arguing about whether or not we want to obey the state and produce what the state wants, or we want to deal with greedy people being in control in the capitalist system. And then moving on, the United States and Europe have capitalist markets and socialist programs. These would be like the private sector would allow you're allowed to own your own stuff, but then the government takes redistribution of wealth for like welfare and social security. And then European countries lean more on the socialist to capitalist spectrum towards socialism than the United States does. And this comes in the sense of like social programs like paid vacation, maternity leave, and cheaper healthcare. But according to the Tax Foundation, Denmark and Finland pay 55.9 and 51.2% income tax, which is a lot larger than the top income tax bracket in the United States of 37%. And that's so the government can redistribute wealth better. And then to conclude, I'll say that capitalism is not inherently good or evil. Like James Madison said, if men were angels, we wouldn't need government. So men aren't angels, obviously, so we need some type of system, and no one's ever going to be perfect. And the real debate we should have is about what degree socialist our program should be and how expanded the government should be, and less about how we need to tear down our systems, and more we need to focus more on rebuilding them a little bit. And then that's where I pulled my stuff from, and that's all I got.